Hey everyone, welcome back to LFP. This is episode 5. Today we're going to be diving into some Terran versus Protoss, the only matchup I haven't covered yet. And we have some special guests. Today we're going to be watching ByuN versus Her0. This is actually streamed for the Korean Starcraft League. I believe DaveTesta and Chicken Man are the ones that are throwing this thing on. So big shout out to those guys for trying to keep the Korean scene nice and healthy. And let's just jump into it. So this one is a Widow Mine opener. And in our next video, we're going to be going over how to defend against a Stargate. But this one opens up pretty standard. I would say this is a very standard opening out of ByuN here. We are actually going to go for a technically a Reaper expand, except he does something interesting here, which you can choose to do or not to do, depending entirely up to you. And throughout the video, we're going to be doing some benchmarks. We're going to be looking at a little bit more on micro today, as well as defensive posturing and how to kind of set up safely at home against Protoss. So yeah, stay tuned for that. So like I said, standard Reaper opening, we go depot, racks, and refinery, all these two on the high ground. And then we're probably going to take this guy here and we're going to expand. Now, ByuN does something that I don't recommend. He doesn't scout. Not in this game anyway. And I always recommend you scout your opponent just so you know what you're getting into, because if you're getting cheese, it's going to be a lot harder to hold doing this build than, say, if you were able to throw down a extra bunker just in time, or to know not to make a reactor and just start pumping out a ton of units, or throw down a second barracks, or just a bunch of things like that you can do for your own cheese. So ByuN actually opens Marine first instead of Reaper, which is crazy to me overall. First he doesn't SCV scout, and then he's not using a Reaper to scout. He cancels his Marine to get the CC up faster and then starts the Marine again. Again, small little minutia, little differences there that you probably don't have to incorporate into your own play. What I would recommend, just get that Reaper going, then get the as soon as your barracks finishes, right, you get your Reaper going, you start your orbital, you get your guy in position to make your second command center. As soon as that's down, then you plop down your next supply depot, and then you move on. What ByuN kind of did here is a variation of the opening. He's very confident against Her0 for some reason. I don't know why, because Her0 did cheese a lot during IEM Katowice, so I would have been way more wary if I was ByuN, but that's not really the case. So yeah, this is a case of pros and mind games more so. This isn't what I would recommend 1-to-1. I would actually check the notes of this video in the comment section below for a better idea of how normal people would open in TvP. Now, I actually don't hate Marine first. I hate Marine first if you don't scout at all. But I know why he did it. Is to get this factory out even sooner. So timings might be a little bit off compared to your normal game, but as soon as the factory goes down, he drops his refinery. As soon as he gets his second gas, he drops his reactor. And he's actually not making that second supply depot until now. So kind of a little bit in a weird order here. So maybe don't follow this exact build order, because I highly recommend scouting or knowing what your opponent's doing or getting vision in some sort of capacity. Even though we are going for an early harass, the main reason ByuN does make this Marine first, like I said, I think it was to get the factory out, and then also to stave off any early like zealot pushes, like if you just walk a zealot into the front. But we get our reactors done, we're going to start pumping Marines, our starport goes down as soon as our factory's done, and we're going to start making Widow Mines. Our second ZC is done, so we're going to start turning that into an orbital. I'm going to pause here at 3 minutes, and we're going to do a quick benchmark. And then I'll go over what he does with this Widow Mine, because I think it's awesome. So at 3 minutes, this is your first benchmark. This is if everything is going perfectly, you haven't been cheesed, everything's going fine, you're able to get your build order out. This is kind of what you should be looking at. Now, units, we have 3 Marines. Like I said, I would still say have 1 Reaper, one Reaper, 2 Marines. You're going to be getting some vision, because right now ByuN is completely blind. He is banking on the fact that Her0 is going for a safer opening. He's going 1 gate expand, which he is. Again, yeah, it's a little crazy. Don't recommend that one, but we'll get more into the nitty gritty of stuff later. Anyway, the benchmark, we have a fully saturated first base. So our main is fully saturated. Our gases are 3 out of 3. Our mineral line is 16 out of 16. So we are good to go there. Our factory is done. 1 Widow Mine is already out. We have, like I said, probably 2 Marines and a Reaper. We got 2 depots. Everything's looking good. Our starport is almost done as well. So if you're at 3 minutes, what I would do is play through the game, learn the build order, check back in, compare the notes to this. Does your 3 minutes look as good as this? Are you lower on SCVs? Are your timings just a little bit messed up? It's a good early game benchmark to check with. So let's go ahead and continue. I'm going to go back to ByuN's vision because ByuN's vision drives me nuts. He has no idea what Her0 is doing at all. It just pisses me off entirely. But he does do something that I love. This first Widow Mine that he dropped, he sent it immediately into his mineral line. This Widow Mine right here is only to serve the purpose of staving off Stargate attacks. If an Oracle flies in or if a Phoenix flies in, this is going to get a shot off. And he's not going to be able to see it because it's covered completely by the SCVs. It's a pretty sick move. I love it a lot. Our starport finishes up. We're still making Widow Mines and we're still pumping Marines. We haven't stopped any SCV production. Our second Widow Mine goes up in this side, hidden behind the starport, again to get another shot off in case something flies over trying to get a scout. Our medevac and our third Widow Mine should finish around the same time. And after our second Widow Mine, ByuN does something I really like. He puts a bunker out front. So even though he's playing completely blind, he's covering all of his options. So in case there's some sort of couple gates coming up, like some sort of pressure at the front with some adepts or even some stalkers, the bunker gives your Marines more range. It holds off any stalker aggression. It won't hold off a full 4 blink, but it's only 3.5 minutes. But it's an extra level of safety because we're not really producing a lot of units, especially for at home. These 3 Widow Mines plus his medevac are going on the offensive. All we have to protect us is a handful of Marines, and then a couple more on the way. So I do like this bunker at about 3.5 minutes. So our third Widow Mine finishes, our medevac finishes, and we immediately start tech labs on both factory and starport. And so at this point here, we're going to be paying attention to the medevac, but we're going to come back and look at the base. So we are going to be going back and forth. I consider putting this one and the next one in the same video, but because there's a lot of nuance I want to go over, I figured it's better just to split up both the TvP videos. So I expect a lot of TvP this week. So before we get in here, let's go ahead and check the time. We're at 4 minutes. So the Dragon Scales is a little bit of a shorter, or not Dragon Scales, sorry. The name of the map is totally escaping me right now. But this is a smaller map, right? The rush distances aren't crazy. So this 3 Widow Mine medevac timing is hitting at about 4 minutes. Now, if you're on like altitude or like a really big map, you could be expecting to hit at like 4:15, 4:20, depending on if you're using your boosts and how efficiently everything is coming together. At home, we'll get back to this in a second. Let's watch this medevac kind of fly in for a second. So he boosts, he checks the natural. He's going to drop 1 Widow Mine. I like this move. This is semi-unnecessary because you're already doing a lot of damage. This is better if you have the APM to spare, and I can jump into that a little bit later. But he pulls the Widow Mine so it doesn't fire and kill less probes. And he's trying to fish for a better shot. And I think he tries to get it, and then he flies into the main base and he drops 2 more. 1 in the back, 1 in the front. Now this one does go off. Kills like 3. He is able to pick it up and get out of there. So he does save the medevac. This guy over here finally goes down because our opponent has an observer somewhere. Nope. Well, he saw it and killed it. Oh, it fired. It fired. Duh. It fired, so he killed it. We don't have an armory. Okay. Sorry about that. But he was able to escape with 1 Widow Mine and the medevac. Now let's go ahead and jump back. So this is right when the... Let's jump back a little bit further because we know the medevac hits at about 4 minutes. So we're going to jump back to our main base and see kind of what all ByuN is doing at home while this is happening. We're starting up siege tank production, and we're starting up something that I really like, which is a Raven. I think a Raven works really good in every single matchup. Doesn't matter, Zerg, Protoss, Terran, it's always a great unit. It always serves a really good purpose and helps a lot. If you have issues with, say, like observers or creep tumors, or you don't want to waste your scans, Raven's amazing for that. We're throwing down our second barracks. We did halt marine production, but that's mostly because we ran out of money. So we'll be picking that back up here in a second. ByuN, please. There we go. We're continuing worker production, and we're grabbing our third gas. So after the siege tank and Raven come out, or about when those two first pop out, we're going to grab our third gas. We're going to go ahead and start up another factory. And here's something else ByuN does that you don't necessarily have to do. I recommend doing this against RoboBay builds, or I guess robotics builds in general, because the Viking helps stave away any sort of warp prism harassment. That's its main goal, right? You're not going to get a whole lot of value out of this unit if they went, like for instance, if they go Stargate, the Phoenixes can kite your 1 Viking. You're not going to be producing a ton of Vikings off of a Tech Lab starport. But versus Protoss, you can make 1. It's pretty handy. Versus, like things like Zerg, it's always, a little bit they have more uses. And obviously in T and Z, they have more uses than versus Protoss. So, but he does this because he's waiting for this barracks to finish, which, I mean, is fine. You're making use of it, but I would also rather just, if there wasn't a warp prism, I would fly this off and start making a reactor on the starport immediately. But yeah, because if you are going up against Warp Prism, I think the Viking is a great choice. Oops, I forgot we're going to be looking at ByuN's vision. So this is something else you could do. If you do manage to save your Widow Mines, awesome. If not the end of the world. Widow Mines are pretty cheap. He flies in, he's just looking for some amount of damage. Double checking Hero's army, finally getting vision. I also really like this wall off by ByuN. You can't do this on every single map, but on a lot of maps like Grezvin, you can definitely get away with this. And it's where you put a bunker and then 2 supply depots. It makes it impossible for adepts to kind of shade, because if they're starting from over here, they have to shade all the way down and around just to get up to this section. So it really wears out that timer. You can set up a siege tank behind it. It's really safe. You have a bunker. You're good from all run-bys and from any frontal assaults. See? Even from that corner, he probably would have made it up to here, then they would have phased out. Now, the medevac does go down. Like I said, he didn't find any more damage, but that's fine. Alright, so that Viking finished up, so we're flying the starport off the Tech Lab. We're taking over with the barracks on the Tech Lab. We're going to start up STEM. We're going to start up Marauder production. We're going to start another barracks. We're going up to 5 barracks in this build. Continuing marine production. And our engineering bay, I forgot to mention that. Sorry about that. Our engineering bay did go up. Let me pull up my notes really quickly to see where that is. So around the same time, when your tech labs finish on this side, right? So when your tech labs finish, you're going to start your Raven, your siege tank. You're going to grab your third gas, and you're going to grab your engineering bay as well as +1 attack. Only 1 engineering bay. That's in the notes. That's in the build order as well. Again, you can find all that in the description below. So we started our 3rd barracks and our 3rd command center. Good way to remind yourself on how many you should have of each. Now, at the 6-minute mark, we're going to stop. We were supposed to do a benchmark check at 5 minutes, but I got a little carried away there. So at 6 minutes, we'll do a benchmark test. We did fly our factory off because we noticed with our medevac scouting around and checking his army composition, seeing kind of what he's hitting us with, we know there's not going to be any Colossus or Disruptors. So we're getting away from the we're getting away from siege tanks, and we're actually going into widow mine production. We're giving our tech lab to our barracks so we can start producing more marauders. We're starting up our 4th barracks, and then soon our 5th barracks will go here. We have 2 gases, fully saturated natural, fully saturated main. Our 3rd base is about halfway done. So if we do a quick little benchmark, we got our reactor starport. We got 3 barracks. We have 1 coming up, 2 of which are on tech labs. We have stim. You can get combat shield. We have our factory going into a reactor. As for units might look a little bit different depending on how much action your game has seen versus, what we've seen so far out of ByuN and Her0. But ByuN has about 14 Marines. He has 3 siege tanks, and he's kind of looking to get aggressive. He's looking to play up. We do have 2 medevacs about to spawn out right now. But mostly he's just keeping these adepts away. He doesn't want to push out because he knows Her0 is watching. So he's being a little bit more careful. And he doesn't have any medevacs. The stim is only about halfway done, so it's still a little late. It's kind of risky to push out. We do have that pesky warp prism harassing us, so at this point it's a little bit better just to kind of stay at home. Her0 not committing to the warp in. There's our 5th barracks. Our medevacs, like I said, are coming out. And we're approaching the 7-minute mark, which is kind of like a big timing attack area, especially for Terran. Usually the 6 to 7 minute mark is when a lot of our timings hit. I don't really like how he's running around with all of his units trying to chase a warp prism when he has a Viking. I think he just F2'd that. There you go, we're making more widow mines. We have a couple SCVs doing nothing. Our 3rd base finished, so we're gonna upgrade that into an orbital orbital command center. Now our stim is about to finish. Our our +1 attack just finished. We can push out at this point with 3 tanks with everything we have, and we can go and assault our enemy. However, we don't know anything about Her0's build. We're completely blind here. So what's a better option instead of suiciding all of your units? Let's do a drop. It's safe. It lets us protect our 3rd base. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this drop as a distraction. We're going to use it to gather information. We're going to use it to pull Protoss's attention. By the way, he did send that Raven in to do harassing damage and drop turrets. You can if you want. You can if you want. It's good if you feel like you're kind of behind, but it's also kind of a greedy play because Ravens are very helpful and kind of pricey. So I like this. So we're going for that drop. We started our Ghost Academy at around 650, 645. So we're preparing ourselves to transition. We are taking our 3rd base and we're covering our 3rd base with this drop. We have units at home protecting it. These tanks are in an insane position to block anything coming from this angle. We have widow mines. We have units. We aren't completely defenseless here. That's the nicest thing about drops, right? We aren't abandoning all of our protection and safety just to get some damage done. We do see 1 zealot here. That's okay. We're going to boost in. There's nothing here. We're just going to try to deal as much damage as we can. We do force a recall and we see a lot of units spawn. So we're just going to slowly micro these guys back. We see he has storm now. That's a little spooky for our bio ball, but good thing we already started ghosts. And Her0 being really good coming in and trying to do some storm drops. However, he does lose 1, doesn't lose both of them, but he does kind of F2 in, and all of his units get shredded by these widow mines, or at least 3 units do, and he loses that immortal for free. He's got 1 high Templar in here, but immediately gets melted by the siege tank. So this drop ended up doing a lot of damage. I think we killed like 10 or so probes. We recalled half of his army home. We kind of put him in a panic. We established our 3rd base. Now we know he doesn't have any forward threats out here. At home, we're just pumping out more Marauders, more Marines, Ghosts when we can afford them. Still no combat shield or concussive shell. I imagine he'll be getting those soon. Even got supply blocked at one point. And his SCVs have been a little iffy, but we're mostly watching like for the build order specifically and how he's kind of managing the situation. So he didn't overcommit with these medevacs. He put Hero into a rough spot. And go ahead and check back in on our unit tab. We got 2 Ghosts, 16 Marines, 9 Marauders. Pretty good bio ball. We got 3 tanks for protection. We know he just wiped up a lot of his ground forces, so we're feeling pretty good about that. With the Ghosts and the EMPs plus snipes, it'll be really good for this kind of play style that Hero's going. We know he's going to be going Zealot Archon, so the Ghosts are insanely good. We do catch the War Prism, or at least we see it. Our Viking intercepts it, and we're just playing a very defensive game. Very passive, very chill Terran game. Again though, ByuN, man. You got SCVs here, here. Like, come on, man, what are you doing? You're F2 in your units a lot. Like, not the prettiest game out of ByuN. Even pros make mistakes, those guys. But even though we can't see what the Protoss is doing, look at the supply differences. We are up almost about 26, 27 supply. Mathing is a little hard right now. So we did have some forward Marines that did pick up those those Zealots, so we know they're on the way. But we're perfectly safe. Look, we got Ghosts, we have Siege Tanks, we're chilling. And we're just constantly producing more units. We're producing Marauders, Marines. Finally, our combat shield's almost done. We catch these Zealots. We've bait out some Storms. We got some good splitties. And we're ready to push across the map. We're feeling pretty confident. You could even actually leave these tanks here if you're not feeling as confident and just go with the bio ball. Tanks just kind of solidify your position and help you push back against a lot of stuff. Here we go. We do see all the Zealots on. And we're going to watch them on the micro here. So as soon as there's a storm, we just kind of like split our units up. These EMPs go out. We're immediately trying to hit the Archons and the Zealots. The Zealots are the meat shield. So if we can take out their armor, these guys are a high priority. The highest priority would be the High Templar. If you can see them and EMP them, awesome. Second highest priority is the Archons. They only have 10 HP. So if you EMP them, they lose a ton of shield, 100 damage specifically, or about, you know, a lot of siege tank shots. They're not armored, so it would be like 6 or 7 siege tank shots, essentially. Or no, I'm sorry, about 5 or 6 siege tank shots. Again, math isn't my strong suit right now, but you see those EMPs go off and it just shreds the Immortals, or it shreds the Archons, shreds the Zealots, and we just continue pushing forward. The supply differences is literally double, and ByuN just completely crushes this game. Back at home, we have a third fully saturated. We're getting ready to take our 4th base. When we push out with this army, definitely feel free to drop your 4th base. You can drop it on location. That's usually kind of a safe thing to do, unless you're worried about run-bys. But yeah, we're just going to push forward, drop our 4th base, be happy boys or girls. Now, if your opponent is going, say, Colossus or, you know, like Robo units, so you Disruptor Colossus, this is a bad move. I don't suggest pushing out with all of your bio forces in one big clump. One, because Disruptors are harder to split against than Banelings, in my opinion. 2, it's just an unbeatable Protoss death ball, so it's better just to take advantage of our speed, where Protoss doesn't. The reason this comp works against the Protoss is because our bio is just really strong. We have EMPs. It just soaks up, you know, 50% of Protoss's HP, and we're able to steam or forge a path ahead, basically, and just push our way through. And that's the Widow Mine drop. So even though our Widow Mines didn't do a crazy amount of damage, we were still able to sit back pretty comfortably and just build up this game. Even with a few of the macro mistakes that we saw ByuN having, even with the kind of wonky build order that I went, it's still a pretty solid opener. You can get a lot more vision than ByuN did anyway in the first place, and you can play a little bit safer even. And it's a really solid, just kind of turtley play style. There are notes, like I said in that document that's in the description below. There's a couple notes. You can push out at 6 minutes. As soon as you get that 3 tank mark, you can push across the map and try to deal some damage to Protoss. I recommend 3 tanks, 2 medevacs, a good amount of bio, and that's easily attainable with this build. The main reason ByuN's didn't is because he was being harassed by that warp prism. If you do go with a Viking, you can use that to kind of patrol your side areas. You can actually sit and put on patrol your Viking here or right here to kind of stop warp prism harassment. You can even throw up missile turrets, kind of like ByuN's did, but these were a little bit later, and it looks like he only did one from that side. But yeah, you can put up a missile turret, like say here, for example, here, and then you can even put one up right here, which is a good spot, or on the high ground right here. And that will defend you from warp gate play, so you can, be a little bit more aggressive. You can also wait instead of doing the 6-minute push. If you're, not feeling as confident, I recommend waiting till about 7 minutes. When you get 2 medevacs, you can fill it with Marauders, Marines, and you send that across, just like we saw ByuN's do here in this game. He sends the medevacs across, try to deal as much damage as possible, and hold off any attacks coming from the front with your siege tanks and superior firepower in your defensive position. So this has been LFP number 5, our first Terran versus Protoss. If you guys enjoyed it, definitely drop a like, subscribe, all that good YouTuber stuff that people say. And yeah, next episode we're going into Stargate, defending a Stargate push. Same series though. But anyway, thanks.